There we go, fish on. All right, welcome to my video. We'll just start it right now, why not, with this little scrapper on high stick presentations, okay? So high sticking is a great strategy. It's used for a big variety of different situations. Let me get this little rainbow off of here. And we'll chat. All right, so high stick, it's generally high stick nymphing, but you can high stick dry flies, you can high stick streamers. And I wanted to do a video today to help kind of unpack some of the really common mistakes that I see my clients make and I see a lot of other anglers make. And there's two really big fundamentals that you need that are just foundation level stuff. They're not fancy, but when I explain it to you, the why, you'll start to do that and hopefully either one, cement the knowledge you already have and say I'm doing it right, or two, you'll go, oh, okay. And I'm telling you, these are just, they're gonna seem small, they are monumental. The first one is, the number one reason that we're gonna high stick is trout are often found in these really swirly, boily areas with a lot of cavitation. I'm just gonna take the camera by hand here and I'm gonna show you, like, there's undertows and whirlpools and water going different direction. And in this little section right here, there might be 8 different seam lines. Now within that space right there, there are some trout, but if I lay my fly line across all of those different speeds of current, lots of different things are gonna happen. It's gonna get twisted and turned, it's gonna pull on my fly, it's gonna make my fly drag, looking very, very unnatural. The undertows are gonna suck my line underwater, which is detrimental to my drift. It's gonna drown my line. I'm not gonna be able to mend it, I'm not gonna have control. A really quick solution to that is really just gonna be taking your line and holding most of your line off the water, just like that right there. It's very intuitive, and I want you to think about it a little bit like dangling your fly out there for the fish. Okay, I'm gonna do it again. It's just a short cast, and I'm gonna put it downstream of that boulder that has all those mixed currents. And I'm just gonna hold my rod up. There's a fish right there. Awesome. Perfect for the video. So what I'm doing is I'm just holding and elevating my rod out there. The problem is when a lot of y'all are doing that, oh, I love catching trout. I just love it. When a lot of you are doing this high sticking, there's 2 issues that you bump into. One is, I'm gonna show you, the first one is, people don't run the line through their rod hand. You have to run the line through your rod hand when you're high sticking. It has to be locked in right here. So I can make these really fine adjustments to my line length and get that angle just right. Because what happens is, people who don't hold the line, I see this all the time. My rod has to go back and my left hand is way back here, and I just had a bite right there and I wasn't able to hardly do anything about it because I was forced to tip my rod back, which is a horrible habit in itself, and also my left hand wound up way back here. So in a proper high stick, there's 2 things. The rod should be parallel with the water and the line needs to run through your rod hand. Okay, so line through my rod hand, I'm taking in just the right amount of line. My rod is just a few degrees above parallel with the water, and I'm reaching my arm out, okay? In a good high stick, we're gonna reach our arm out, and it can get a little bit tedious and tiresome. But the proper high stick is gonna be trying to get my rod tip out there closer to the fish so that I can dangle that fly directly underneath my strike indicator, as the case may be right here. If I were Euro style nymphing, and this applies to hopper dropper fishing, but if I was Euro style fishing, the same would be true about wanting to get my rod tip out closer to the fly so I can lead the fly through. So those 2 fundamentals I want you to watch. Okay, I'm gonna strip in line. Got the line in my left hand locked in. My line hand is up here so that I could strip in more if I needed to get that mix just right. And then my rod is high but parallel with the water, and I can lower it down at the end of the drift, and I'm just taking a little bite right there. The other thing that high sticking does for you is high sticking alone sometimes won't get the right drift. But what it does is high sticking will keep a little bit of my leader and my fly line on the water. Let's see if you can see this. So that when I do mend, I've already got my rod in an elevated position. So I can combine a high stick with small mends. I keep getting bites. I love this spot. I can get my rod high like this, and I can make small mends to work in harmony with my high stick. So the high stick is helping keep your line elevated. And a tip about mending is line moves easier through the air than the water, and the high stick really helps facilitate that. You can high stick a dry fly, you can high stick a streamer to keep it out of the boils. When you high stick a streamer, that's probably a whole different video. We try to swim the fly downstream at the fish. Makes it that much more appetizing. But I think high sticking when done right is one of the best tools you can have. Times that you wouldn't want to high stick is when the fly gets downstream of you, you really need to begin to lower. I want to make sure that you're not confused there, and just to let that drift go naturally downstream. In high winds, you're going to need to be careful with the high stick and leave a little bit of the butt section of your leader on the water to help anchor that in. Otherwise, that wind will parachute your drift a long ways. The other time that high sticking can be challenging is when you have extremely clear water conditions without a lot of turbulence and cavitation. So maybe the water's swirly with some undertows and a high stick would work well, but the fish might be able to see you. You have to get relatively close when you're high sticking. So that's another time that you might consider backing off a little bit and going away from the high stick. But it's a great technique for me. It works great during the summertime when the fish are hiding in pocket water where there's a lot of swirls and cavitation. Woohoo! Nice fish on my indicator rig here. I just switched from my Euro rod to my indicator rod. This is like one of my, I think that was my first cast. I hadn't even turned the video on yet. And I was just dabbing into here and just doing a little delicate high stick, and that fish took off. I mean, I have this Sage Click reel. Oh my gosh, that's a nice trout. I should turn the camera around, he's jumping. Yeah, I have this Sage Click reel, and man, this thing screams. I love a click pawl, but there's no drag, so I run the line right over my fingers. And a lot of people are like, why do you like a click pawl? The drag's never too tight and it's never too loose. It's just kind of a cool trout reel. They free spin pretty good, but they don't backlash. So I'm gonna turn this camera around momentarily and let you see what's downstream, see where this fish is. He may jump again. Oh my gosh, he's running. I don't know if you can hear that thing screaming, but that's a strong fish. I just hope he stays on there. All right, got my biggest fish on the indicator rod today. All right, so I couldn't help myself. I had to fish one more spot. I thought the video was done. I don't know if this will be the beginning of the video or the end of the video, but I just couldn't help it. I'm having too much fun out here. I need to get back to the shop and edit all this before I go to Baja tomorrow. But I just couldn't help it, and I hooked an absolute dandy right in those rock piles. So my biggest fish was on that little indicator rig, just that super simple little single fly indicator rig. And now I've got this good one on my Redington Strike Euro rod here, which this Redington Strike, it does not have the touch and feel of the Sage Sense or the Loomis Euro or, you know, the Thomas & Thomas, but I'll tell you what, it's really tough wading here, by the way. I'm in the boulders. I'll tell you what, this strike has been super reliable, and I have put a lot of fish to hand with this. DJ hooker, no secret there. Love it, man, awesome. Okay, my setups here for the day. Let me go through my gear. I have a Sage Sonic 9-foot 5-weight. It works great for high sticking. Most high stick nymphers are gonna want something 9.5 or even 10 feet long. I'm running a little loon tip topper and a super simple rig with a Jaeger's hare's ear tungsten bead on the bottom, just running about 3 feet underneath there. When I'm high sticking, I like to keep my nymph rigs nice and short. Sage Click reel. Love that reel with a Scientific Angler's Amplitude Infinity line on that. On my Euro rig, so I can high stick both. Euro fishing, we do a lot of high sticking. With Euro, because you'll be doing that all day, a lot of people like to keep their elbow back a little bit, utilize the additional rod length, the 10 to 11 foot rods, to keep it easy on their shoulder. But you should absolutely, especially when you have a critical drift, reach out there and do it. So on here, I'm actually fishing a non-beaded pheasant tail. I like that for summertime, and I like that on my top fly. And I'm trying to get a lunker. I've been using a crayfish and a TJ hooker for my point fly, a little bit bigger bug. Typical cider rig, that's a Redington Strike 10-foot 3-weight, Sage ESN reel, of course, and the Scientific Anglers Competition nymph line. And as always, I'm in my Watermaster boat. This happens to be a Grizzly. This is the little guy right here. So I hope you enjoyed the video today. High sticking's a great tool. Get out there, but just make sure you're doing it right. Line in your rod hand, rod parallel to the water with just a few degrees of uptick is all.